Simba.
Come here. Come here. Man, like today I finally got an experience. I felt like I was in a different dimension all day. It felt so cool. Because I love it when I have a lucid dream, an OBE lucid dream. And it's so weird, like the energy, it stays with you all day, even when you wake back up. And it feels like you're in a different dimension. Because it stays with you even after you wake up. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like one of my best ones or whatever, but at least I got something, because when I sleep like shit and I don't get that real deep sleep, or well, anyway, I could tell, you know, I just know when I sleep good, I'm gonna get something. And then, but if I sleep like shit, like it just like not real deep all night or whatever, I don't get anything. And I've been sleeping like, and I think I've been sleeping like shit because I put my cat's been pissing and shitting all over my bed in there. So I had to go get this plastic thing to put over my bed. And so any kind of change like that, it like, and I try to sleep on it, I don't know, it messes me up, it makes me not sleep very well. But I slept really good last night, so I guess I'm used to it now, because it feels different. Yeah, so yeah, I slept really good. But I woke up at like 6 a.m. I gotta be in bed by midnight, because otherwise if I go to bed too late, I feel like shit the next day and I'm real dizzy. So I gotta be in bed by midnight, or at least try to anyway. And yeah, so I woke up at like 6:30, and I was like, okay, well, I need to sleep for 2 more hours because I didn't go to bed till like midnight or whatever. And I don't think I laid there for 2 hours. I guess I must have fallen back asleep, but then I woke back up again and I'm like, okay, I don't remember any dreams or anything, so I don't know if I laid there for 2 hours or not. But then finally between 8:30 and I wanted to wake up before 10, before The Price is Right, so finally I woke up before The Price is Right, like at 9:45 or something like that. And I was like, wow, I got something. I got a cool I got an OBE virtual reality lucid dream. I mean, virtual reality because I was walking around in a different dimension out of body, so it's still virtual reality, OBE lucid dreaming, because it felt like a different dimension. But yeah, so I got it between 8:30 and 9:45, and I could tell I, slept like really, really good during that time to put me in that perfect state. But okay, so yes. Well, so anyway, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But I was gonna talk about a couple like off the wall things, because I was looking back at like I was watching Needless Things. And I know I've heard about it before. I don't understand why I didn't watch it before, because I've pretty much watched all the Stephen King movies on YouTube. And I know they may maybe mention Needless Things like in another Stephen King movie or something. But anyway, so I finally watched it. And then I looked back at like younger pictures or younger videos of Stephen King. And like, he totally looks like a serial killer. But anyway, well, people say I write like a serial killer. Oh, you got a flea right there. Don't look like one, but they say I write like a serial killer. But no, he definitely looks like a serial killer when he was younger. Stephen King does. But, yeah, so then I thought I would mention... I thought I would mention in a video, this is in 3D, not a dream or anything, how back I worked at an independent verification company for MCI. I worked back behind this MCI, cells, phone cells facility or whatever. And but I worked at the independent verification company part, and you just literally sat there with the headset on, And I would literally be like falling asleep, like, and reading the script because he would get groggy. And I'd be reading the script halfway asleep because I had it memorized. But one time, I wasn't in a groggy state or whatever, and I got, well, see, people switched over to MCI so they could get those Sky Miles, you know, free Sky Miles, and then they would get free plane tickets. Now I don't think they have that stuff anymore, but yeah, so, and I never read books of Stephen King or anything like that, and I never did even watch movies back then of Stephen King or whatever. Because I think the first one I ever watched was like 1999. Well, that was like in 1996 or 1997 when I worked at the independent verification company. But I knew his name, I knew who he was. And anyway, I got him. I know that was him, and I didn't even ask him are you the Stephen King? But it was him. I know it was because it was his exact same voice. You know, he doesn't have a real deep voice. It was his exact same voice, and he spelled it exactly the same, StephenKing, and he lived in Maine, and so anyway, he got on the line, and all you do is just ask like 4 questions, and then he'll be like, yeah, and then at the end you ask for like a date of birth or something like that. But I knew it was him. I mean, I knew it was him, but I didn't mention anything. I didn't be like, are you the Stephen King? But I know it was him. I can't remember if it was Bangor, Maine or whatever. Maybe that's where he lives. I don't know. But it was Maine. His voice matched his, the voice matched him. His name was Stephen King, and he lived in Maine. And he was calling. It was like a game back then. You could do it like once a month or something. Keep switching to MCI, and get all these Sky Miles, and then you get like 20,000 Sky Miles, and then you get a free ticket. Because my grandma did that all the time too. But anyway, so I did talk to Stephen King back in 1997. Yeah, funny how he would happen to get me, you know what I'm saying, on the line. Well, you know, because there were several people in the call site or whatever, taking the calls, inbound calls. But yeah, all you had to do was just read a script, and then the other person, you'll just ask like, and you do choose to switch to MCI, and then they'll be like, yeah. You just ask like 4 questions. I remember, then they started changing, telling us that we had to ask for their social security number at the end, and then once we would do that, ask like, can I have your social security number? You know, people be like, get fucked, you know. I can't remember how long that lasts, but I only worked there like a year and a half. But you know, but at first it was like, can we have your date of birth? And people didn't have a problem with that. But once you start asking their social security number, yeah. But I only remember one person saying that. I don't remember a lot. Oh no, I remember we had to ask for a social security number at the end. But then if they denied it, then we would say, okay, well then can I have your birth date? And then they don't have a problem with that, or they didn't have a problem with that. Okay, but then another story I was gonna mention. That was all in 3D. And then another story I was going to mention in 3D was that I answered a serial killer ad. John E. What's his name? I think his middle initial is E. John E. I thought I spelled it Jon. Okay, well maybe it is John, but he should be almost dead by now. He should be 75 or older by now. Anyway, his name's John E. Robinson because his middle initial is E. Probably Edward, but John E. Robinson. And I did answer. I wish I still had his typed letter that he sent me. Well, basically, okay, he was a serial killer. He was also a scam artist. And you can go look all this up on YouTube. And this is all in 3D. Now, I never met him. I had no desire to drive to Kansas City and meet anybody. I was 21 years old, and me and my friend had already been to Kansas City and went clubbing and stuff. And you know how at grocery stores or at the bars you could go out of the bar and you'll pick up the little newsletters and stuff. And so I brought all those back home, and I was just reading like personal ads and stuff in the newsletters, and one ad, it did not say slave master as far as I remember, but it said something similar. It said something similar, like, because he went by different things, not just slave master, but it said something similar, like, I don't know, bondage or something like that, and I was just curious. So, I wrote it. I wrote it, shit, I forgot how it worked back then, but anyway, you write a little letter or something. Shit, I don't know, I forgot how it worked. But you write a little letter or whatever, and I didn't know if it was a guy or a woman, you know what I'm saying? It just said something about, you know, I was stupid, I was 21 years old, and, you know, you're curious about sex and, you know, and all that shit. So, but as far as I remember, I think it maybe said something about master or something, but I don't specifically remember it saying slave master. But anyway, but I know it said something about bondage and shit, and it was in the Overland Park, and he put ads in the Overland Park. I forgot what the little newsletter was called, and that's what I was reading. Okay, well, now, I don't know, I would have figured this all out, I would have connected the dots, back when he got caught. I moved to Kansas City in the year 2000, 21 years old. You know, I was still living at home and stuff. But anyway, I had no desire to go to Kansas City and meet anybody at that time. I was just answering a little ad because I was curious about it. Because it didn't say, you know, they wanted to meet you or anything like that. It was just some curiosity type of thing. And, so anyway, yeah, so anyway, he got caught, I think, around 2004, and I was still living in Kansas City in that apartment in Leawood. But, yeah, so he got caught, like, in 2004. Well, I think they started catching on to him in 2000, and then he got arrested in 2004. And, that's when I heard about the story, and that's when I started connecting the dots. Because I remembered answering his ad, and I even kept his letter, his written letter. He typed it on a specific typewriter that made like one of the letters drop down or something like that. And I kept his letter for several years, and then I remember going under my bed and getting my little plastic crate and throwing a bunch of stuff away. I wish I still had it. You never know, I still may find it. But I'm pretty sure I threw it away. But like I said, I did keep it for several years because I always keep letters and stuff for many, many years and cards and stuff. And, so yeah, so like I say, I probably didn't connect the dots until 2004 that I answered his ad, a serial killer. But it wouldn't matter if I went and met him anyway, because I would have known he was a fucking psycho, and I would have ran the hell out the other door or whatever. But, yeah, so anyway, okay, so I answered his ad. It said something about bondage or slave master, something like that. And, like I said, he didn't say he was male or female. I didn't know what the hell he was. But I was just curious, so I wrote it. And, you know, I think he just had to pay $1 or something. Okay, so he wrote me back. And, you didn't give, you know, your address out or anything like that. It just went to, like, some kind of box. And then the newspaper company transferred you, like, the response or whatever. It's not like he knew my address or anything, and I didn't know his address or whatever, where he lived or whatever. But he hung around Olathe. I used to call it Olathe, Kansas, Johnson County. That's where he buried all of his dead bodies and stuff in big crates. And yeah, so anyway, I just, like I said, I can't remember, but somehow I answered his ad and said I was curious or whatever. Okay, so he typed on a typewriter, because he always, if you go on and listen to about him, it'll say he always typed his letters to the women on typewriter, and it would always drop down a certain like letter. And so he wrote me a letter, and it was pretty long, you know, and it just said, like I say, he typed many paragraphs. As far as I remember, it wasn't a couple sentences. It was a big at least one page typed letter, big page. And it basically, it said, it was given, it was just saying, okay, you know, like, if you want to know more about this, blah, 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 this is what you got to do first. You got to send me, like, $25. See, he was also a scam artist. So when I read that part, I'm like, okay, this fucker is a scam artist. So I did not send $25. But it was either 20 or 30, but to me that was a lot of money back then, you know, in 1993. And but like I say, I probably didn't connect the dots until 2004 when he got arrested and everything, and when they said he went by slave master and bondage and all of that. Like I said, I moved to Kansas City in 2000. I didn't respond to his ad until, you know, when I was still living at home in 1993. 1993. That's when I answered his ad, because I had started to go to Kansas City when I was 21 to party and stuff, and we would go to World of Fun. But like I say, I had no desire to go, even when I was 21 and everything, still living here, I had no desire to go up there and try to meet anybody. But I was just curious about the ad. And so, like I said, that was the other story I was going to say that I never did a video on. That I actually answered a serial killer ad, which was John E. Robinson. He doesn't look so much like a psycho. Well, actually, he does. Well, there's some more current videos of him, and he seems like a different guy or something. But I mean, you can look in his eyes. He looks like a demon. He looks possessed. And it just always seems like serial killers have blue eyes for some reason. Or green eyes, blue, mainly blue. But I mean, it's just, he's kind of smiling here. And he's got to be like 75, 78, somewhere around there. And I can't figure it out if he got the serial killer appeals death penalty. Serial killer appeals. I don't know. I can't figure it out if he actually got the death penalty or if they transferred it over to life. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Hopefully he's on death row, but I mean, but he's been on death. If he is, he's been on it for many years. I mean, he's already close to 80, probably 75, 77, somewhere around there. I mean, he's probably going to die soon anyway, but yeah, I mean, you can tell by his eyes, he looks like a freaking psycho, man. I mean, that doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that. But like I said, it seemed like I saw him talking in a more current video a few years ago when I looked him up, and he seemed like he's kind of changed a little bit, but of course you're gonna change when you get all old and elderly. I mean, I don't know, maybe some people just get possessed for a period of 10 years and then they get out of their possession or something, I don't know. But yeah, okay, so anyway, like I said, I kept that letter for many years and just, stuck it in my little plastic tote under the bed. And, yeah, so basically, that ad that he put in that I answered was basically just a scam artist ad. It wasn't one where it said, I have an elderly mom, I'm looking for a woman to take care of my elderly mom, and then he fucking kills your ass. It wasn't that kind of ad. It was a scam artist ad. And like I say, as far as I remember, it was just one, maybe 2 pages, typed several paragraphs. And it was basically just kind of saying, each phase, I'll tell you more and more about it, but you got to give me $25 first, and then I'll tell you, send you another letter about it, and then you got to send me more money, and then I'll tell you more. It was like little, I don't know, little phases he was going to tell about bondage and S&M and shit. Okay, so, but yeah, so anyway, that's my story. That I talked to Stephen King and that I answered a serial killer ad. yeah. Kind of funny. Like I'm always meeting demons. Like even that one woman was a demon, and she knew it. I met her. Like when was it? 2012. She was a demon too. I'm always meeting demons and shit. Okay, so yeah, so okay, so now about my awesome like lucid dream. But yeah, you can look him up. John E. Robinson, serial killer appeals death penalty sentence. That was in 2015. Well, he's probably always appealing. Convicted Kansas serial killer Johnny Robinson is appealing his death penalty sentence. Okay, so maybe he is on death row then. Where is it? But yeah, look him up. I mean, he totally looks like a serial killer. He looks like a psycho, and he looks like a serial killer. And he's got blue eyes. Because blue-eyed people are serial killers. Okay, so anyway, okay, so here's my story. Here's my awesome lucid dream I had this morning. Okay, how long have I been talking? Okay, okay, so, okay. Yeah, okay, so this morning, I mean, it was a blast. I mean, I wish it could have been a little better, maybe, but I mean, it was awesome. Okay, so basically, I was in England. Okay, we started off. I was in a white English van, like in real life, like when I went to England a couple years ago or whatever. We were in that English-looking European van, and we never rented a white van. I think it was, I can't even remember, but 2013, 2014. In real life, as far as I remember, it was maybe black and then silver. I don't remember a white van. We didn't rent a white van, but in my scenario, it was a white European van. It started off with me, like 7 or 8 other people in the van, and a different driver was driving. Because back then in 2014, we actually had to rent out 2 vans, and the only man that went on the crop circle tour drove. The only man, and then the host or whatever drove the other van. And I think we like switched. We took turns because I think I rode in his van a few times, and then I rode in Barbara Lamb's van a few times. But the guy in the scenario, when he was driving, but in this scenario, the guy was in the scenario like back in real life, except it was a different guy. But Barbara Lamb wasn't in the scenario, just the guy was. But in the scenario, it was a different man. And when I looked at him, like when we were all passengers back there, and when I was looking at the guy driving, I was like, oh, okay, that's a different guy. You know, because I knew, and, you know, even under the scenario, I knew in real life that it was, you know, a different guy back in 2014. So in the scenario, it was a different man. But, and he looked a little bit younger than the other guy, kind of darker hair. And so he was basically the driver. And, okay, so we were driving along, and there was me and like 8 other people in the van. And we stopped off at a museum. And I guess it was supposed to be a crop circle. Well, actually, it was just a museum. Aliens didn't really tell me what kind of museum it was, but it was just a museum. So then we went inside the museum, and we started walking around, and I started walking around by myself for a long time. Well, at first with the crop circle tour with a bunch of people, I started walking around up and down the hall. Up and down the hall. But this was a funny thing. I don't ever remember seeing any artwork or anything about crop circles or anything or any artwork. But it definitely felt like a museum, though. It felt like a museum. I knew I was in a museum, and in real life, we did go into a very, very tiny museum in a little small town in England. But anyway, so, but yeah, I don't remember, I didn't see any, I maybe saw some pictures on the wall, but I didn't really see any artwork or anything. It was like empty. But, maybe that's why I didn't see any artwork, because I mainly just seemed like I was just walking up and down. Well, first of all, we met up with, as we were walking in, there was a young guy at the counter checking us in. And then we proceeded to start walking around. But at first I was walking around with the people, with the, with my crop circle buddies. And there was eight to 10 of us, and about 50-50, 50% men, 50% women. And so anyway, eventually it kind of got sort of like bare, like people started leaving, and then eventually I kind of started to get abandoned. I started to like be walking around alone up and down the museum, and it's pretty long museum. It was pretty long. And the funny thing is, in this scenario, half the time it literally felt like England, and like the other half of the time, maybe not so much. Maybe just more either neutral or like America. But half the time it felt like England. And at some point, when I got abandoned, I walked back out of the, I walked back out of the museum looking for the white van. And then I went back into the museum, and I passed by this woman, and I was like, well, I don't want to say anything because she's going to know that I'm American. And I heard her say something, and I could hear the British accent and stuff. And the guy that checked us in and stuff, he had a British accent. Toward the door? Yeah, so the cell phone cut me off apparently, so I don't know what I said or left off, but yeah, so this was a fun experience that I had, when was it, 2 nights ago? Yeah, it was so fun, man. The energy stayed with me, like, all day. Like, I felt like I was in a different dimension. Oh, sorry, baby. All day. And, basically the aliens took me to England and left me abandoned. Let me make sure this stupid thing's on. Hold on. Yeah, they took me to England, and they've taken me to England and left me abandoned several times before, and I think I did mention that experience in one of my videos. But yeah, they're always leaving me abandoned, and I think it's because it has something to do when I was younger. But I guess that's normal for a little kid. I don't know, but I don't know, like I always felt like I was going to be abandoned or something, like by my mom or something when I was younger, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old or whatever. And then, and one time, I got locked, I don't know, I couldn't figure out how to unlock the door. I got locked inside a bathroom at the Chevrolet place or whatever when I was either 4 or 5. And I started screaming and stuff. And I don't know how I locked myself in there, but yeah, so I don't know, like I think that's why they keep abandoning me or whatever, because I always had what do you call it? I was always afraid of that when I was young, like getting abandoned, which it might be normal for most kids, I don't know, because that may be a normal thing to feel that way when you're little. But yeah, so in these scenarios, the aliens are always like abandoning me. Oh, I did have a cool dream. What was it? Yesterday morning. Where I was in an airport. Yeah, I was in an airport. Just in the little areas, where you sit down. And it's one of those like wallet ones where somebody stole my yeah, this was kind of weird. Somebody stole my freaking wallet, and I had like at least $800-900 in there. At first I wasn't well anyway, so it started out I was in an airport, and then I was waiting, I don't know, this is really weird, but I felt like I was at kind of like a slumber party at the airport. And everybody was with a bunch of other people that were kind of like probably 20-year-olds or whatever. And everybody had a tendency to leave their luggage like kind of like under, there weren't really seats, but under the shelves, which I guess were kind of like seats or whatever. I mean, you think they would have been seats, but in the scenario, they weren't really seats. It was almost like little compartments in the little area, like of airport, where you wait and sit down in the chairs to wait for your plane to come. Yeah. So anyway, people kept, you know, when people would get up and go get food or whatever in the airport, you know, the younger people would like go in there and rummage through the luggage bags and you know, steal people's wallets. So my wallet got like stolen, and I was thinking, man, I'm so stupid. Why would I freaking leave it in my bag and walk off with it? I mean, walk away and leave it in my bag. Okay, so then eventually I found somebody else's wallet, and it was like canvas. It wasn't leather, it was like canvas. And I saw it stuck into there, so I went ahead and stole it, so to speak. But I never did look in it. I wish the aliens made me look in it, but I never did look in it. But I already sensed that there was nothing in there, because I sensed that somebody else already had rummaged through it, and there was nothing in there, so they threw it under the little shelf thing. And, but yeah, it's like, they were kind of like big, little blocked off compartments, so little areas where you sit down and wait for the airplane, in my scenario. But anyway, so I did steal somebody's wallet, but I never did open it up or anything. And, well, like I say, it wasn't, somebody just like already stole it and then threw it under there, and it probably didn't have anything in it. But, so I went ahead and like grabbed it or whatever, and then so I was all distraught, like, damn, where's my wallet? Where's my wallet? You know, my credit cards were in there. Oh, and then that check of $75 was in there. This is under Lucid Dream. Except my $75 check was in there, which in real life I already deposited it at the ATM machine. Yeah, so I had $75 check in there under my Lucid Dream, and so I was thinking all these thoughts of everything that was in my wallet. And at first I thought maybe I just had you know, like $15 or $16 in there. And then, okay, this is the funny part. I even though my physical wallet was gone, somebody stole it in the scenario. When I was under the scenario, I kind of like manifested an ethereal one, so to speak. I manifested another one, a replica, a duplicate of my wallet, and I started rummaging through there, and I saw like the $75 check, and then I saw, so I manifested like an ethereal one under the scenario, and then I started counting the money, and I was counting like a few dollars, and then there was like $100 bill, and a few more dollars, and like 5-6 more $100 bills. So I had like $800 in there that somebody stole. And yeah, so and what else was I gonna say? You can come up here, Tora. Oh, what was I gonna say about that? Yeah, so anyway, I never did get it back or anything in the scenario, but the aliens are always making people steal my wallets and stuff, or misplacing my wallet. Well, most of the time it seems like it gets stolen or something, my wallet. But then sometimes they make me steal other people's wallets too. Yeah, so that was kind of cool and fun. I know what I was going to say, because in real life, you know, like right now I have, how much did I put in there? 600 or 700. 500. I put $500 in my wallet, and then I had like 32 other dollars. So like right now I have $532 in my wallet. But yeah, so you know, I've had, you know, $700-800 in my wallet before, you know what I'm saying, in real life or whatever. But that was kind of a fun dream, lucid dream, I guess. But okay, so yeah, so this other a couple days ago, I love these type. And it wasn't really that great of an experience, but when I woke up, I mean, all day long, I still felt like I was in a different dimension, because that energy stayed with me. It was so cool. The energy of England and the energy of the whole lucid dream stayed with me. It's so cool. Like, I don't know if anybody else can relate to me, because I don't know if I've ever heard anybody. I've never heard anybody. Most people, they'll just be like, "Oh, I had a lucid dream," but they don't remember anything. They just know they had a lucid dream. And I heard somebody make a comment that they know the aliens are responsible for them. Well, yeah, duh. And but I've never heard anybody you know, say, well, you know, because most people's brains are shut off. I don't know if anybody else can relate to me how the energy just stays. Oh, and not only that, like you could be like, they could set you up with a romance scenario with somebody in the scenario, and then you wake up in 3D and like all day long, it totally feels like you've been with that person. Like you've been with that person, you want to be with them again, and you want to find them, but you know you can't because you're not in that lucid dream. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so like I said, I don't know how much I said in that other video because it cut me off. Okay, so anyway, basically I was in a lucid dream, out-of-body experience, virtual reality experience. I'm trying to think if I remember smelling any smells. I don't think I remember smelling any smells. I'm trying to think. But in the scenario, like most of the time it felt like the energy of England, and then sometimes it just kind of felt more neutral or like America. But most of the time it did actually feel like England in the scenario. But like I said, the aliens did something to make it strong, because after I woke up, man, and like I felt like I was totally in a different dimension. I don't know how the aliens do that, but it's really cool. And like that one time, that other experience, which I never talked about because that was like 2011 or 12, I had that experience. Well, no, because that would have been 2013 at least, because I think they gave it to me after I came back from England in 2013. But I'm trying to think which one. That was also like an England one. They took me to England, and oh yeah, there again. Like I said, I think it was that experience. They took me to England, and my mom sort of I was walking in a mall, and my mom sort of had abandoned me or whatever. But after I woke up and everything, I mean, I totally felt like I woke up at 10:30 a.m. And that one I never did mention. I wasn't doing videos yet then. But yeah, I just felt like I was in that dimension. I felt like I was, you know, all day long until I went out of the house at 7 o'clock because I went to work out. But it's amazing. I don't know how they do that. It's weird. I mean, there's somehow, like somehow altering your brain or whatever, or, you know, it's, I don't know, or is it external? And it's probably, they probably somehow, I don't know, but it's weird. You know what I'm saying? Are they altering the energy and stuff around you once you wake up? Or is it just still just kind of all in your brain? Internally or whatever. But, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, so it felt really cool. So anyway, they took me to England, and or the aliens did, and I got abandoned again. Okay, so basically it starts out like this, and like I said, I already mentioned a bunch of this, but I don't know where I left off because the cell phone cut me off or whatever. Okay, so I started, and I remember it all like totally clearly too, like none of it's fading away from me at all. Okay, so basically in real life, in 2014, there was a man, we had to rent out two vans in real life. I think one of them was black, the other one was gray or silver, I can't remember, but none of them were white. In my scenario, we were in a white van. We had to rent out two vans in real life back in 2014. Under the scenario, the other host wasn't in the scenario. It was just the man that was in the scenario. And so we started off, like, I don't know, a party of 10 or 11 people in the van, and I was in the van. And, matter of fact, was I in the front seat? Anyway, it almost seemed like I was in the front seat. But anyway, there was a male driver, and we started off in the van, and we drove to a museum, and we parked in a parking space way over on the right side of the big, long parking areas. The parking spot way on the right. We'll pretend like that's north. Yeah, way on the right, and the white van. And I remember looking at the guy. No, actually, I must have been in the back, because I remember looking at the guy, and I remember thinking, you know, that I knew, you know, that did not look like the guy, you know, that we had in real life in and this is all into the lucid dream. in 2014. It was a man, probably a little bit younger, but it wasn't the real guy that took us around in 2014. It was a different man the aliens, placed in the white van. And it was a British van, just like in real life, what we drove around in and rode around in. And like I say, he was the male host or whatever, or the male driver. And then there was at least party of 12 people with me. It's kind of like I was at, a crop circle tour. And, but I'm trying to think of, but the crop circle, that never did enter the picture in the scenario, because we were just going to a museum. And in real life, we went to a museum in real life. But it was like a small museum. In this scenario, it was much, much bigger. Okay, so anyway, so we went to, so we started off driving, riding with the male chauffeur, so to speak, and he was part of the crop circle tour too. But like I say, the crop circle, that never, that never did enter my brain in the scenario, as far as I remember. Okay, so we stopped off, we parked in the parking spot, and then we started walking in the museum, and the door also was facing, kind of cockeyed north, or northeast, kind of facing the parking lot where we parked. And like I said, we were in a white van. In real life, we didn't rent a white van. It was like either silver or gray or black, but it wasn't white. But in the scenario, it was white. Okay, so then there was a British sounding. He had a British accent. Guy. He looked about 30. The guy standing at the counter. Checking us in. As far as I remember, I can't remember if we paid anything or not. Or maybe we did, but I can't remember that. But anyway, he was standing there, and he started checking us in, for the museum. And he had a British accent. I remember his British accent and everything. So then we all went into the museum, and there was quite a few other people too in there, walking around, like older people, like couples and stuff. And so basically, it was a museum, but I don't really remember seeing a bunch of artwork. As far as I remember, I did see like maybe some pictures on the wall and stuff. I don't remember the walls being just completely blank or anything. I remember seeing like maybe normal pictures on the wall, but as far as seeing any artwork, it's like I guess we never did get to that point. But we were mainly just kind of walking up and down, or I was anyway, and all the other people just walking up and down the big, hallway. Like the big hallway. And there was, like I said, when we got in there was a bunch of other people walking around, like couples, older couples and stuff walking around. And, so then, eventually, people started leaving. They started leaving, and eventually, like, I got abandoned or whatever. And, so I started going and talking to the front counter man, that checked us in. He had dark hair, and he looked about 30 or maybe a little younger, and I was like asking him, I was like, where's my party of people and stuff? And he was just kind of like, he didn't know. And I kept like walking outside of the building, and I went walking along the parking lot to see if I could find the white van, and it wasn't there. And there was like no other cars either. I don't know where all the other people parked, or they already left, but there was no other cars. That was the only white van. And I kept going out there looking for it, and it was gone. And then I at one point I walked back into the museum, and I went past a little grassy area. I went back in the same entrance. I went past a little grassy area, and there was trees, and it was like a little woodsy, grassy area. And then there was like a British woman with blonde hair, and she looked about 30s or whatever. And she was walking by me, and I heard her talk and everything, and I remember thinking, and she had a British accent, but I was afraid to like talk, because I knew she would know that I was from a different country or whatever. So I didn't say anything, but I heard her say some things. So I walked past her, and then I went back in the museum, and this went on 2 or 3 times, going back and forth trying to find my white van. Not my white van, the white van that we took the tour in. And at one point, I went back into the museum, started walking up and down the aisles and stuff, and people started to leave, and eventually it's like it was just me and the front counter person who checks us in, the employee. It was just like us two. But at one time, I went back out the door, and I went down a little farther, like more north, going towards northwest, not northeast, but going towards northwest. I went down a little farther, and there was one parking spot, and I was like, "Is that our white van?" And it was this odd, skinny-looking, huge, like this white. It was white. It was like a white, skinny-looking moped-looking motor scooter, but it was really odd-looking and really huge. And it was just in a parking spot. And I was hoping that was going to be the white van, that I was looking for my party of people. And it wasn't it. The aliens put weird stuff like that in my scenario. And then I had these thoughts of, okay, so I'm stuck here, and I didn't even know what bed and breakfast I was staying in. I did not even know that. Because I was like, wow, I don't even know the bed and breakfast I was staying at, so I can't call anybody because I don't remember the bed and breakfast I was staying at. I started having all these thoughts. And then it was already getting to be 5 o'clock, and I went back and talked to the front desk person, and because I figured they were probably about to close, because things in England kind of close early in real life. And so I went back to the front desk person, and I was like, okay, it's 5 o'clock. Are you guys going to close soon? And he acted like, no, we stay open till late. And I just automatically knew that meant either 8 or 9 o'clock. But at one point, actually, I had watched Needful Things, Stephen King movie Needful Things or whatever. I don't know why I didn't come across it before on YouTube. And there's that guy in it, the demon guy. And at one point, he was like standing there towards the door, the front entrance, where we came in. And there were some other people standing there at that point. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go up to him and ask him if he knows, where my party people went. And then I was like, nah, I better not, because I don't really know him. But like, I knew he was an actor and everything. But anyway, the aliens put him in my scenario. What's his name? Max Boncito or whatever. He's a really old actor, but and then I looked up in real life, because people were like rip. So I looked up in real life, and he just died like a couple months ago, like age of 90. He was 90 years old. But yeah, so the aliens put him in my scenario. Oh, and he did have a hat on. He had a hat on, and so I never did go up and talk to him because I was going to, but I didn't. But anyway, so eventually it was just like me all by myself. Me and then the front desk person just like lingering around this museum. And like I said, we just kept walking up and back, the hallways. But like I said, I don't really remember seeing a bunch of artwork. I mean, just maybe some pictures on the walls, but I can't remember what they were. And, yeah, so the other cool part, see if I'm forgetting anything. Well, the best part was when I went, back in the museum, started looking for my party people, and then I went back out of the door, and then I went towards where we parked our van, but it wasn't there any longer because they left me abandoned. And then I started walking, I started walking northwest, and then I started looking down, and that was like the cool part, because I saw all these parking spaces and not a single car in the parking spaces. All these, at least 50 parking spaces, and it kind of went down on an incline. And then there was all these woods in the back, or in front of the parking spaces. And then in the back of the parking spaces, there was like just like a big ditch, a grassy ditch. But it was like all muddy. It was just muddy because it's very wet in England, So the aliens put that in my scenario. And it was cloudy all the times I went outside. It was cloudy as far as I remember. Or at least that time it was cloudy. Some of the other times I think it was actually sunny when I went outside. But that time it was already later in the evening and it was already cloudy. And it kind of getting dark like. But it was just cool how I saw, it was just like, just muddy. The whole ditch was just all mud. And, in the back of the, I'm sure there was some space, and then there was the back of the parking spaces, and then the back of that was the woodsy area that I had walked through. But yeah, I looked down and it was just like, you know, massive amounts of parking spaces, and they went down on an incline like that, slight incline, and like I say, it was just all muddy, and so that was kind of cool to see that scene. But like I say, the other cool part was that weird looking, huge, kind of real odd looking. I mean, this motor scooter thing was like 7 feet tall, 9 feet long, and like this skinny. I mean, it made no sense. You know what I'm saying? And it was white because I was looking for the white van that we did the tour. You know, that we did that the chauffeur and stuff we did the tour in. Yeah, and it was just in that, you know, one part, like maybe, I don't know, 6 parking spots down from where the white van should have been. But yeah, it was, I mean, like I say, there wasn't much to it. Oh, but still, it was like, after I woke up, I'm like, wow, you know, I got something. And it just stayed with me, the whole energy stayed with me. But like I say, I would say 80% of the scenario, it did actually feel like England, but then there was some other times, like maybe 20%, where it just kind of felt like I was in America, or the energy felt neutral. But after I woke up and everything, it stayed with me for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then, the funny thing is, I had woke up at 6:30, and I don't know if I fell asleep between 6:30 and 8:30 or not, but then I woke up again at 8:30, and then I went back to bed, and I was hoping I was going to get something, and sure enough, that's when I got something, this awesome lucid dream. Out-of-body experience lucid dream. So it happened between 8:30, and then I think I got up at 10, I think, straight at 10 or 10:15. Yeah, so I got it after 8:30 a.m., and I was just like, wow, I got something. Because it's been a while since I've kind of gotten something good. And this really wasn't that good of a scenario, but it was, because the energy and shit was just so awesome. Okay, what else was I going to say? Well, yeah, I'll talk about other stuff later, I guess. Thanks for listening.